The program. I want to introduce you guys to a man by the name of Octavio Sanchez. He joins us now on the phone. Octavio, how's it going, sir?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, sir. I understand that you were born in Mexico, so tell us how you came to the United States.
I was born in Mexico. I started making my life over there, and I went to school, got a degree in engineering, got a master's degree in computer science, and got other titles like that. And I was working in a company that later became acquired by a company in Arkansas, and I was asked to come and work over here, which is what I did about 22 years ago.
Wow. And so you came over on an H-1 visa, and you also went through the naturalization process. Is that correct? So you're a citizen.
Yes, sir. I am a U.S. citizen, very proud of it.
Wow, that's great. And you're also now an executive committee man with the Benton County Republican Party. Tell us about that.
Well, I started my, let's say, my public life in the city, and later became invited to the county committee, and later I was elected one of the officers. Currently, I am the second vice chair of the committee. However, let me clarify that my opinions on this subject are not necessarily the opinions of the county.
Of course.
They are exclusively my own.
Of course. And you're also a city councilman, right, in Bentonville?
Yes, that's correct. And that's part of the incredibly beautiful place that we call America, in which a foreigner could come and make his life and eventually become elected as a member of city council in a beautiful city like it is Bentonville, which is, as I said, amazing and talks beauty about the country itself.
I completely agree with you. I mean, it really is the way to do it. I mean, and you came to this country legally, which is something that we don't see sometimes. Right now, we have an entire political party that wants to defend coming to this country illegally. What are your thoughts right now, Octavio Sanchez? What are your thoughts on what we should do at the border? Do you think a wall is a good idea? Do you think we have to stop illegal immigration?
Well, obviously, illegal immigration is wrong in every aspect of it. Immigration in itself is not wrong. Immigration is a natural process because, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. That's natural. However, the countries must have territory, people, and laws, and they need to regulate that process to protect the interest of their own citizens. So that is the first part, and that is not happening, unfortunately, these days.
When you say protect the interests of its own citizens, I want to say I completely agree with you. But talk a little bit about that, because not only is there when it comes to protecting our interest, our economic interests, the infrastructure, the welfare programs that need to go for the truly needy Americans that are already here. But then we also have the violence, the drugs, the sex trafficking of little children. I heard the Homeland Security chief yesterday say that they have to give pregnancy tests to all girls 10 years old and up when they're detained at the border. This is a huge problem. So we talk about protecting the interests. We also have, to me, it's literally a national security issue. What are your thoughts, Octavio?
Oh, you are absolutely correct. The situation, the conversation on this subject could extend for hours and hours and hours and probably days. And I understand we only have a few minutes, Paul. So I can only say a few things because of time. But obviously the situation is really bad. If we consider that there is a total disaster in the sense of security and protection, not only to American citizens, but also to foreign citizens that are somehow invited or lured to come to the U.S. There are probably 2 billion people, based on recent polls, 2 billion people in the world that want to come to the U.S. And that is obviously something totally unmanageable for this country. So there is obviously the necessity for us as a country to regulate immigration. Every country has its own set of rules for immigration. Some of them do not allow their citizens to leave. Some of them are very strict on who goes into their country. In some other cases, they charge fees for people to go in and to go out. I was in one of those countries some years ago, and I saw one of the soldiers of that country kicking and hitting and doing bad things to a little foreign citizen who wanted to avoid the payment. And that's what they did. I went to another country not long ago that had a big sign on the border that says, "Do not do anything that it is not proper. If you do anything, we have the absolute right to kill you. Truly yours, the soldiers of this country." So there are many things that the countries are regulating among themselves for themselves in the sense of protecting what they see as their interest. I don't think America is doing a good job in that respect because the borders are not open, but in a very good way, wide open. It was last month, it was announced yesterday that last month during February, which only has 28 days, there were 76,000 apprehensions around the border, next to the border. It was a few weeks ago that I was in New Mexico, and I heard and I read that the governor is totally against the policies of President Trump, and she's going to recall the National Guard that is currently stationed in the New Mexico border with Mexico. Well, that is a sign of a total disagreement between the political powers of this country, and that is totally wrong because a house divided is not going to stand long.
You're exactly right. We're talking with Octavio Sanchez. He was born in Mexico. He's been here 20 years, a U.S. citizen. Now, you came on an H-1 visa. Now, I want to ask you about that. What is it that you do now? What's your skill set, Octavio?
Well, for a time, I was a civil engineer working in construction, but not too much. And then I started working on computers. And that's what I've been doing for many, many years, many years. And as I said, I have a specialization on computer systems. I was teaching computers and mathematics and other subjects in a national university in Mexico and other places. And then I was invited to come, as I said, to work the same type of job that I'm doing, which I like very much, which is database administration in a large computer system.
So Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, he has tried to float ideas out there to where we need to kind of change some of our immigration policies to where we want people to come here that have the skills that you had, that and there are other countries that do this as well. I think Australia does this, where we want you to be a productive member. If you're going to come here as an immigrant, we want you to kind of immediately start contributing. There are people that call that racist. People on the left call it racist. They think that securing the border, keeping illegal immigrants out, is racist. What do you think about it?
Well, I do not think it is racist because that goes against every race in the whole world. There are some black people and white people and Hispanics and Asians and Russians and everybody that have very little education, very little training on the job, and especially the ability to adjust to the conditions of this country. So the rule in itself by Senator Cotton is not racist. It is, on the other hand, very protective of the citizens of this country. It is a situation that obviously many others do not consider important because they think that other citizens are more important than the U.S. citizens, which is, in my opinion, totally wrong.
I completely agree with you. Again, we're talking with Octavio Sanchez, and I wanted to get your take on border security, and really appreciate your statistics about what happened again, in February. What do you think? Let me ask you this: Do you have any friends who are Hispanic that completely disagree with you?
Oh yes, yes. I have, as always, a big number of friends on one side that agree with me, but a certain number of friends on the other side who totally disagree with me. Mm-hmm. In one occasion, I was called traitor to the Hispanic race. But I'm not considering a Hispanic myself in the first term. The first, instead of a Mexican American, I call myself a Christian American, and that's my definition. So yes, some people disagree with me completely.
But you say you've been called a traitor.
Yes.
Wow. That's I really appreciate your perspective on this, Octavio, because it seems to me that you're rejecting and I reject this idea that we constantly have to put people in groups and divide against each other. You're only a traitor if you accept that false premise that we have to focus on our differences and we can't focus on the things that unite us and bring us together. And I think if we would do more of that in this country, a lot of our problems would seem so much smaller than they are. But in order to do that, we have to somehow, the media just constantly wants to divide us, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't, as I said, I don't like the separation that we have in many occasions because of race. Obviously, I did my DNA analysis, and I am Native American to 35%, and European at about 40%, and all of the other races are included in my blood. So I don't think that should be a reason. If you are white or black or blue or green or whatever, that's nothing that has to do with you. It is your parents who gave you those characteristics. So it is not you. You didn't do anything about it. So don't worry about it. Just keep on. You are just a nice little human living in this world. So
you and Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts are both Native Americans. Wow, that's something. I am about 40% of it. Yeah, she's what, 1,124th. But hey, you know what? Everybody's got to point out the best parts of themselves, I guess, when it's politically expedient. Octavio Sanchez, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. I really appreciate your story. Thanks for spending time with us this morning.